Grunt University, second edition. Now, if you haven't listened to the first edition, this could be a standalone episode, but after that one, I thought of some more things that hopefully will benefit you guys. That's what we're going to talk about today on the podcast, where hopefully we keep God at the center, biblical, Judeo-Christian values and perspective, and real-world firsthand experience. Now, a grunt, if you don't know, is a loving term for a infantryman, backbone of the military going back to ancient times. A man and his weapon, slogging over the world, fighting battles, again, stretching back to the most ancient of human warfare. And some lessons, I think, that are common throughout history that maybe you haven't been exposed to if you were not a grunt. Here's a big one. You can live out of a pack. Save food and water that you'll have to get along the way, but you can live for a long, long time. Big spans of your life. You can live out of a pack. And here's probably the more surprising part. Most of the other stuff doesn't really matter, right? You don't need Starbucks. You don't need electricity. You don't need, I don't know, what do people care about? You don't need Netflix. I don't have TV. I haven't in a long time. But you don't need whatever the new designer shirts are or blue jeans. You don't need any of that stuff to survive and even to be happy. In fact, I think and I don't know this for sure, I'm not a psychologist, but I think some portion of PTSD is, soldiers, Marines coming back and they have all this stuff and they wonder why they're not happier. Well, because the stuff doesn't make you happy. It's just stuff. Now, if you have the means and you can enjoy good stuff, enjoy it, but that's not where true fulfillment in life comes from. So a big life lesson is, you can live with everything you need out of a pack. Again, you'll have to get food and water along the way, find it, gather it, have it delivered, have a supply chain, get fresh water. But other than that, pretty much everything you need to survive and be happy, you can carry on your back in a pack. Big chunks of people throughout history have lived and do live as nomads. And if you gave them some kind of test, they're likely just as happy, or I would say even happier than modern Western people with all this stuff and the several thousand square foot house and the jet skis and the I don't know, what do people spend money on? Golf clubs and whatever else, right? They're like, those nomads are likely as happy or happier than Western people with all this stuff. The stuff is just that. It's stuff. I'm not saying not to enjoy your stuff, but don't think that more stuff is going to give you more enjoyment in life. You can live just fine out of a pack, and that's a big life lesson I learned as a grunt. Spartan existence. Spartan obviously goes back to the ancient Spartans, but that became like a term. To live Spartan or to have a Spartan existence means to live well with a little amount of stuff. The Spartans were known as great warriors. They were not known for being affluent. They were not known for, having an opulent lifestyle. They were known for being very basic in their needs and very basic in what they had and sustained themselves with. And they were great warriors. So that Spartan lifestyle ties into that. Another one, a lot more myopic, a lot more small in scope, but an e-tool, a shovel. You might think warriors, swords, spears, hand grenades, M16s, M1 Garands, whatever else, night vision goggles. You might not think shovel. Shovel is as important as pretty much any piece of military kit, as anybody that was there during the invasion of Iraq will tell you, anybody in the 2 world wars will tell you. Shovels are important. They're important for improving your fighting position. They're important for not getting shot in the face. They're important for all manner of other tasks. They're also important for turning and covering your refuse, right? For turning and covering your excrement. The Bible says so. It talks about a man when he goes out to war, he shall have an implement among his equipment, he shall turn and cover his refuse. That's a commandment, right? Why? Because that stuff's nasty. And when you have people in a given area and they're all going to the bathroom, if they don't cover it, you can get some real problems with disease. If you look at historical numbers, soldiers that died of disease and infection are as bad or worse than anything inflicted by enemy casualties. So, yeah, that shovel, that E-tool, that small entrenching tool. If you've got all this other tactical stuff, but you don't have a small, mobile shovel in your kit, you're probably making a mistake there. Shovel is important for a lot of things. So we call it an E-tool for an entrenching tool, but E-tool's absolutely an important piece of modern combat kit and ancient combat kit. It's a commonality throughout time. So that entrenching tool, that's an important thing to have. Okay, here's another big, large scope one. And you might know this on the surface, but you know it intrinsically at a different level when you see it in person. People do horrible things. People do horrible things in general and to each other. They do horrible things to women and children. They do horrible things to each other. They do horrible things that aren't even necessary. Sometimes it's necessary to do a horrible thing. But sometimes they do it just for entertainment, just for kicks, and it's sick and it's twisted. And evil is a real thing. And if you talk to anybody that's been in war, I don't care if it was Vietnam or there aren't too many World War II veterans left, but Vietnam or the global war on terror, if they've seen any combat, they probably won't talk about it, but they probably know, or they'll probably concede that human beings are capable of some horrible, horrible atrocities, whatever war it was. War is a horrible, horrible thing. When I was young and uninitiated in the ways of war, I thought naively that going to war would be glorious. Not that there can't be any glory in war, but war is a nasty, nasty business. I don't shy away from it. I would go again if it served a good purpose, but I've seen enough war to live happily if I never see it again, because I've seen it firsthand, and it's a horrible, horrible thing. So get any of these romantic ideas of war out of your head. It's a nasty business. Here's another big one. Life is precious. And again, you probably would concede this. You'd probably say, yeah, I know life is precious, but human life is precious. And this ties into another one of my points. Young people die. Young, healthy people die. I think the average American, and I don't know because I'm not the average American, but I think the average American thinks, oh, I'm young, I'm healthy. When I get older, I'll die. Now, this is generally true in America and modern Western society, but it's not true in and of itself. Plenty of young people die. Don't take it for granted that you're going to wake up tomorrow. And every day that you do wake up, hopefully we remember to thank our Creator that we woke up, even if we're tired, even if we don't want to go to work, even if we don't go to school, whatever your age is, right? We should be thankful that we woke up and are breathing air, because that's not a guarantee. And being a grunt will show you that, right? It's young, healthy men that seemingly have their whole lives ahead of them, 18, 19, 20 years old, healthy one day and dead the next. A lot. And not just on our side, right? I saw a lot of young, dead civilians on the other side. Young people die too. Any day could be your day. Not a single one of us here on this earth is guaranteed one more day. Life is precious, and the young die as well. So don't take it for granted that, I'm young, so I'll worry about death when I'm older. You shouldn't be scared of it, especially if you're a Christian, but you should not take for granted that you're just going to live to a ripe old age. I have been blessed to live through many things that I came close to death many times, and if it wasn't for the grace of God, I would not be here. I've come close to death many times, as you might imagine, a man in my profession. And it's not because I'm better than the men that died over there in the Middle East. It's not because I'm better than such and such a person, or I was a better warrior, or any of that. And even if it was, any gift I have is a gift from God. It's just that it was given to me. But I don't think that I'm survived because I'm better. It's purely the grace of God that saved me. And hopefully I use this time for a purpose, to help serve other people. Hopefully I'm helping serve you in a small way right now. But I don't pretend that I'm better than the men that died over there. And that's why I'm here today and they're not. But that's a life lesson I don't think I could ever forget, that we're not guaranteed another day. And the young die as well. All right, lighter topic from an old infantryman. A good pair of boots is worth its weight in gold. A good, comfortable pair of boots. If you've ever walked a mile on bloody feet, if you've ever walked a mile in blisters, if you've ever walked mile after mile with a twisted ankle or a bad knee or whatever, a good pair of boots worth its weight in gold. And I think a lot of times, especially the more tactically minded of us, we're like, oh yeah, I'll spend a couple $1,000s on a weapon, on a rifle, on a optic, whatever. But man, boots, I just get them at Walmart, or I'll just get whatever, right? Like a good pair of boots, even the money on a good pair of insoles, maybe custom fit insoles. This is something that took me too long. I should have realized this earlier in life, but I went way too many miles on bad boots, or boots that were just issued that didn't fit well or whatever. But take it from somebody that's learned the hard way. A good pair of boots is worth its weight in gold. Just, it cannot be overstated for, somebody that makes their living on their feet, walking around, who straps on jungle boots still on a daily basis as a private security contractor. And I don't have as much weight as I did as an infantryman, but I still carry, a fighting load. Day to day, body armor, war belt, mile after mile, day after day, hour after hour. A good pair of boots worth its weight in gold. Here's another one from Warfare Infantry Grunt University. Have a contingency plan. It's kind of a cliche now because it's become so popular in, I think, regular culture, but no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Another quote, not from an infantryman, but from a fighter, Mike Tyson. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face or punched in the mouth. I forget what the quote is. But you get the idea. And this is the lesson. Have a contingency plan. I'll be like, if this happens and this happens and this happens and it all lines up, it'll go this way. And you don't have a contingency for what happens if A doesn't lead to B. What happens if I get stuck in the middle? What is your emergency contingency? In the military, we have different terms. We say primary, alternate, contingency. But I'm just using contingency as in the regular modern English, as in have a plan B, have a spare plan, have a plan in your hip pocket to whip out in case plan A does not go as you thought it would. So contingency plans. Military is all about this. If I'm planning a mission, if I'm going on a mission, if I'm the commander and I'm writing up the operations order, I have contingency plans. I have fallback rally points. I have, plans if things don't go to planned. You should as well in life, in careers, in any of that stuff, right? You should have those contingency plans. The world doesn't revolve around me. The world doesn't revolve around you, right? And the enemy gets a vote. So it's just a wise practice to have a contingency plan. Okay, the next one, I've talked about it a bit before, but societies collapse, and they can collapse fast. I don't talk about this often, and I won't say much about it, but I was there for the initial invasion of Iraq, and I was assigned to something, be careful the terms that I use, assigned to something rather out of the ordinary as far as Marines went, I was actually embedded in downtown Baghdad before we destroyed it, before we bombed it. And I got to see, it was a great blessing, I got to see Baghdad, and it was a fully modern, giant city. If you look at like the population of Baghdad in the year 2000, fully modern city. I was in a safe house. We had, neighbors who were Europeans. You had women walking around in skirts. You had, fully modern functioning society. And in the matter of days, it descended into a third world post-apocalyptic nightmare in days. Electricity went away, modern functioning societies went away, food delivery stuff. It happened fast. I don't know what the future holds, but I've seen that happen. And that leaves an impression. So don't think that, it can't happen here. Look at all the great civilizations of days gone by that are no longer here. Yeah, like the geographical places still exist, but ancient Egypt is no longer a world power, right? It's not the, the culmination of human civilization and society and culture. Ancient Rome, yeah, people still live in Rome, but it collapsed. People would, sit there looking at the things the ancient Romans had built in the ancient Roman Empire, thinking they were built by something other than humans, because they couldn't imagine that humans built something so great and so grand in what they called the Dark Ages. And I think a lot of that Dark Age stuff is not as true as we think it is. But the point is that ancient Rome crumbled. It collapsed. And I could spout off a list of these things. Ancient Samaria. When's the last time you met a Hittite or a Hivite or a Perizzite or many of those ancient cultures, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Minoans, right? Those civilizations, the Mayans, they collapsed. You think we're special? Why? Because we have iPhones? You don't think that could go away in an instant? So civilizations collapse. I've seen it. So don't think that it can't happen here. And I hope it doesn't. And I don't see the future, but it absolutely can. And that's a lesson I got to see firsthand. So take that and put it in your back pocket for later. Maybe, again, going back to contingency plans. What if that happens here? Just what if, right? Something to chew on, something to think about. Which is going to lead us to the tactical verse of the day. Okay, I've a couple of verses I was thinking about earlier today, talking about humility. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Humble yourself, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Be sober, be vigilant, for your adversary the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him, steadfast in the faith. In fact, I think it's because your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion. There's another similar verse. Starts the same way. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Therefore, submit to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. So, my thoughts on that. Humility. Looking at it the right way with the right perspective. Anything that I have is a gift from God. Anything that I am is because God made me that way. He permitted it. And I wouldn't draw another breath without God. I don't know how to not be humble thinking about that. With that, thanks for listening and have a blessed day.